Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hello everyone, today I am bringing you some spicy romances that I could not put down. And I'm collabing today with Bessa Boutique to do a massive giveaway. Stay tuned for more about that shortly. These romances I have are all ranging from really recent reads to some I've read in the last few years. I stretched way back for a few of them. Some of them just popped into my head right away, but they're all books that are going to have you reaching for your B.O.B., okay? You'll want it close at hand. If you don't know, your battery-operated boyfriend, and Bessa is here to help. So these are books that some of them are part of a series. I have some monster smut, I have some mafia smut, I have just some all of the goodness all over. But the one thing these all had in common is that once I started the book, I basically read it straight through. Okay, and these were all books that had me reaching for my B.O.B., and they just might be doing the same for you. Bessa is here to help. Yes, I'm thrilled to be working with Bessa again to give out free vibrators and gift cards to everyone who signs. If you haven't heard of Bessa before, they are a bi women company that does all things sexual wellness. Their mission is to empower everyone to embrace, explore, and celebrate their sexuality. And that's why I love partnering with them so much. A few of the things that you can use your gift cards for or maybe hope to win are a few of my favorite sex toys from them. And first up we have the Pebble, which, I mean, this one is definitely my favorite, definitely a go-to, if you will. This is a tiny, ergonomically built to fit your hand perfectly. I actually have kind of some big hands, but they're made for all size of hands, we shall say. There is suction and vibration that's controlled independently. It's hard to see with my ring light I have here, but there's two different buttons here that control two different motors here. There's no annoying pattern modes in these. They're just different levels of vibration, very discreet, excellent. Then we have the Air Vibe. This one is a favorite of a lot of people, I will say. Definitely very handy. This one actually has dual stimulation, as you see, both for the G-spot and for clit stimulation here. Comes, of course, in the discreet packaging, which is also the charging case, which is great. Where is it? Right here. Little rechargeable right in here. You can keep it in this case. Beautiful, discreet, everything. Silent, but deadly, as it were. And also, all three of these are waterproof, by the way, so perfect for some fun. While you're getting clean, you can get dirty at the same time, right? And then we have the Demi Wand, which, just look at how cute this baby is right here. This one works for all body types, which means there's orgasms for everyone, right? This is an innovative design and it's whisper quiet. It's compact and discreet. It comes, of course, in the cute charging case like all the others do. This one has the flexible neck, which allows you to get the right angle and pressure everywhere you might be needing it. And this one also doesn't have any weird patterns that you'll have to click through to get to it. It's just the different levels of buzz vibration, as it were. And like this one, seriously, they all feel whisper smooth, but this one particularly, because there's no rough edges or corners or shiny bits on this one at all. It's amazing. So thank you so much for Bessa for always looking out for our pleasure. And again, you might want them for some of these books that we're going to get into today. All right, first up today, I have a bit of a throwback one here for you. We have Games with the Orc by Catherine Moon. I just love Catherine Moon's work so often. She's very popular for a lot of her reverse harem books, but I actually really have liked some of her MF monster romances she's been writing, and I really hope she has another one out in this series soon. But the first one in the Monster Smash Agency is Games with the Orc, and this one is just a smutty good time all the way through, okay? But it also does have kind of a touching beginning because we have our heroine Sunny, who has really been hiding what her desires are. She's been in kind of boring relationships, been really afraid to share what her desires are and be afraid of being judged for them by partners and stuff like that. So she decides to nosedive into her fantasies, and she decides to pay for a week with the Monster Smash agency and one exceptionally talented orc, okay? So she meets Kellar, and he's a master with his work at Monster Smash agency. He's great at satisfying his clients for whatever type of experience they want to have. And these are very like controlled and protected experiences as well. Even though you're alone with the two of you, you will periodically have someone from the agency like checking in, making sure everything's still consensual, making sure people are drinking water and eating enough so you keep up your strength. And so she has all these different requests that she wants to work through, but she leaves it up to him for which experience they bring up when. So it can be a bit of a surprise to her as it goes along, which I think is really clever and really fun. I also have this really sexy like bookmark with this one. It was like, you surrendered to my control, now surrender to my care too. Because yes, there's some really great aftercare in this. So really, really love this. The second book in the series is Howl for the Gargoyle, and that one was really fun as well. But I just wanted to remind you of the orc romance because, you know, we all deserve some of that. All right, now I'm gonna go a bit darker for a minute, but I love having a San Mariano show up in a rec video for sure. And this was her most recent release, which was Brutal Ambition. And this is a Coastal Elite spin-off novel, which means you can either read it where she put it out in like release order, or you can read this one literally as a standalone, as it says, because you see other characters in the side parts of it, but this is completely new couple to us. We'd never heard of them before, like really seen them at all. And this one actually begins at a Halloween party where one of the other books is taking place at the same time as well. And in this one, we have our heroine who she gets invited to this party. Let me look up her name again. Sorry, I forgot what it was for a second. Brin. And she actually got invited there unknowingly to be a virgin sacrifice, okay? This one wannabe secret club, what's it called? A secret society wants to use her in their evil virgin sacrifice. There's no other way to say it. And that's not a euphemism. Like, they are all planning to rape this virgin and then murder her. So obviously she can't tell. And we have Killian, who he's a part of a real secret society. Yes, that's, you know, the games that the elite play, as it were. And he's received heads up that this fake secret society is going to do this. And he knows that this is going to fuck a lot of things up. So he's not really rescuing Brin in the beginning because he gives two shits about Brin. He just doesn't want this fake secret society to ruin it for the real one. I know, weird setup. But he does rescue her from being raped and murdered. But now the problem is, this like secret society, they knew who she was, again, the fake one, and they weren't planning for her to survive it. So she knows who they are because she knows who invited her to this party, and it could put her in a very sticky situation. And so Killian is like, you can't just go back to your apartment. I'm sorry to tell you, honey, but that ship has sailed. And also when he gets her back to his place, he feels that maybe she owes him a bit of appreciation for him saving her from being assaulted. And she's kind of into it, but she's also like, are you seriously expecting thanks? And he's like, yeah, I feel like I should get something from this. It is San Mariano, by the way, okay? There's no white knights here. None exist. So even though he might have saved her, he's just as dark, pretty much. I mean, murder wasn't included in this situation, but some sexual coercion certainly is. And then, because again, this is a San Mariano, after Killian does do that, he now has his way with her and becomes obsessed with her, and now he's never going to let her go type of situation. So Brin has found herself in quite the pickle, we shall say. Okay, now we have one that I recently just read. Let's get a little bit lighter for a second. We're going to be going back and forth between a lot, but one book that I just finished is Fragile Sanctuary by Catherine C. So this one's a bit more of a romantic suspense. This one isn't quite as erotic as some of these, but I will say I was quite surprised by some of the spicy things that Catherine Cowles threw into this. There was some bondage that was thrown in, and there was great sexual tension between the two of these. So if you like a bit more of a slow build, as it were, this one could definitely be for you. But this one is a romantic suspense, is more what I would put it under. It's the first in her Sparrow Falls series that she has coming out right now. And this one is about a girl who, she's been adopted into kind of this big family, which is wonderful, but it happened because her parents and sister were murdered in a house fire, which, I mean, at the beginning, we don't know that it was arson, but it becomes clear later on that it was. And the arsonist who killed her family all those years ago might not be done with her and might still want revenge. Then our hero in this scenario is actually currently a, like, he's the, like, fire safety guy for a construction company that is actually run by her adopted brother. And he is helping to restore the house of hers that had partially burned when she was young. She's ready to kind of fix up this house and, you know, like, honor her family's memory and make the house livable again. And that puts her squarely back in the crosshairs of whoever started the fire all those years ago to begin with. So this was a very, like, sweet romance. It's a grumpy sunshine, but it does, like I said, have the tension and kind of the, like, anxiety of the suspense that's going on. And I felt like it was very nicely woven throughout the story, in my opinion. Okay, then we have The Men of the Falls by Melanie Moreland. So this, if you don't know, I talked about these books a ton. When I first read them, she had them come out just a month apart. And this is actually Aldo and Roman is this duet. And these are actually, like, Canadian mafia adjacent stories, we'll say. They're not, like, directly really involved, but it's very clear that they are based on the ties that we see that they have and everything. But the first one in the series, Aldo, is about basically a woman getting a job at this casino. She gets a job at one of the restaurants there, and the man who hires her is Aldo, and he runs a lot of the operations there for Roman. He's Roman's right-hand man. And Aldo and the heroine, I think Vivian's her name. It's been a hot minute. I think her name is Vivian. Aldo, come on, show me her name. Show me her name, come on. Violet, I was close, it's Violet. And she's working there. He's the, you know, a big guy around town, and he knows he should stay away from her, but he can't help it. He finds himself having his meals in the place that she works over and over again, and they just have this crazy chemistry with each other. And so very soon they end up becoming kind of like, you know, I don't know, workplace benefits. I don't even know what to call it, extra benefits. And before Aldo knows it, he's definitely in deeper than he expected to be. And yeah, he might have some commitment issues with it, but the way that it goes, I liked it a lot. And then we have Roman, who, like I said, he's kind of the head guy at this casino and place. And he also, his casino, he does a tiny bit of loan sharking, shall we say, in a way. And there's this woman, not our heroine, who owes him a lot of money, and if she doesn't pay, she's going to be in trouble with him. Again, he is not a completely law-abiding citizen. And she offers him the use of her sister in exchange for her debt. And he's like, excuse me? I don't deal in the flesh trade. I don't deal in sex trafficking. So you can take that and screw off. You owe me this money or you're in trouble. Well, since he won't take her offer of her sister, she finds someone else who will. And so she sells her sister for the money to pay off Roman. Well, Roman gets to feeling a little suspicious about where this woman is going to get the money. And so she actually finds out where the sister lives and goes and warns the sister that she may be getting solicited for some money and to say no. Well, that doesn't help, because when the woman who owes the debt ends up showing up with the money, Roman is like, where the fuck did you get this money from? This can't be good. And so he feels guilty, even though, I mean, he didn't really do anything, but I think he felt like he maybe gave this woman the idea in the first place or whatever, I don't know. And so he blames himself a little bit for it. Let me see this heroine's name if I remember. all the men, come on, Effie. And he ends up rescuing her from the sex trafficking she was sold into. But now he's pissed off the people that he stole her from because they're out the money. And so he decides to protect her. He very quickly starts to form an attachment to this small, sweet, sassy woman. And he realizes that the only way to protect her and get what I want is to marry her. And so he makes her his fake fiance, for her safety, of course. There's no other reason but for her safety. That's it. Don't assume anything else. But I really liked these. This looks like a big book, but it's 2 separate books. And the first one is only like 200 pages, I think. Let's find where it splits. Yeah, they're not too long. So the audiobooks are very good. And yeah, I love those ones so much. Okay, then we have another spicy little like monster / alien one. It's funny how these go because sometimes when I mention a book in one video, I end up putting it in a bunch at the same time because my brain is thinking about it. So I just put out a video this week where I had Jumping the Shark in it, and I put it on this one too. But Jumping the Shark is a quick and spicy little alien daddy kink romance. And we have this shark alien named Maxon who sweetly abducts this human woman, this plus-size plush goddess, and brings her to his home planet and basically begs her to be his mate. And she's like, you know what? I don't have a lot that I'm leaving behind on Earth. And he's so sweet and he wants to play sexy games with me and love me. Why not? Why not let him do it? And so she ends up becoming his alien bride, basically. And it's quite delightful. I won't lie. It's pretty delightful, and it's smutty all the way through. There's so many kinky things in here. We have like DVP. We have a double-dicked alien, so there's twice the fun. It's just got all the good times to it, for sure. Highly recommend it. It's a quick read. It's a wet read in more ways than one. So I hope that you give it a go. Okay, then I decided to bring up a whole series that a lot of people are fans of. And this is so addicting, as I said. You know, the theme of this is books that you can't put down, right? I should reiterate that. These are books that I read all in one sitting. And each of these books, when they came out, because I actually listened to all of them on audio is how I read them. And as I listened to them, I basically did it in one sitting for each one. So it starts with Nero, and he ends up hiding in this woman's apartment while like the police go by. Again, these are all part of the mafia. And they have this weird interaction where he's like, you know, it isn't safe to keep your door unlocked. Well, she's on like the 2nd or 3rd floor. And he's like, doesn't matter. I was able to get in. Someone a lot less nice than me might be able to do that. So he kind of like hides in her apartment that night, and he leaves the next day without hurting her. But now he's become a little obsessed with this woman. And so he finds out where she works, and now he's gently stalking her. And again, I say gently, because if you read these, you'll understand. There is no part of this big lug that is going to hurt this precious woman because he's just so into her. So this series, I say you got to suspend your disbelief, even more so than you do for some mafia romances. You got to suspend your disbelief because it's wild, okay? It's a wild series, but he's also just so charming. And again, the audiobooks are fantastic for sure. So there's Nero. Then we have King. Now, King is basically Nero's like right-hand guy, and this one has a very interesting beginning. So this one has let me just read the back. That's the best because this scenario is very interesting. So, okay, so my bad for assuming the guy I was going on a date with wasn't married, all right? And my bad for taking him to a friend's house for dinner only to find out that my friend is also friends with his wife. Because in fact, he is married and she happens to be at my friend's house because her husband was busy working. Confused? So am I. Unsurprisingly, my date's wife is super angry about finding out that her husband is a cheating asshole, right? Okay, and it turns out King finds out about this because the person that was cheated on, I think it's his sister. I think it's his sister. And so he's an absolute idiot, okay? An absolute idiot. That man is going to end up dead. And now this woman has seen it. And so King can't let her tell. He also is very attracted to her, feels bad for her that this guy did this to her. And now Savannah is sucked up into King's life. And she's not going to be able to easily get out of it, okay? See, that one's a tough one to explain. Sorry, I had to read the back because I was like, that's right, this one's very confusing. All right, but next up, we have Dom. Dom is a guy who, like, wants to be involved in the alliance, which I should say, like, the alliance is an alliance of different mafia men or whatever. And Dom wants in, and Nero and King are like, no, you're not welcome in. So Dom hatches a plan, and this plan involves King's half-sister, who is from King's dad's mistress. So she's a younger sister to King. And she hasn't really been a part of the family at all, obviously, since she was pardon the use of this, but like a bastard child. But her father did want to take care of her once he was gone. But her mother always kind of despised her for letting herself be taken in by the dad, and that he never left his wife for her, that kind of thing. So she blames her daughter. But anyway, how is she involved? Well, Dom finds out that this woman is King's half-sister, and he wants to get in with the alliance. And so he engineers this whole scenario where he ends up sitting next to Val on a plane ride somewhere. They end up stuck together for the night. They have a fling, and then she can't stop thinking about him. And so when she goes to Vegas with some friends, I can't remember if it's a work trip or a bachelorette party. I don't remember what it was. He ends up there, and he makes sure that they're married by the time it's over. And when he gets taken to meet her brother, boom, now it's out that this was all a trick. The only thing is, Dom is actually totally infatuated with her, but he went about it in a very underhanded and tricky way that is not going to lead to Val being too happy with him. But, I don't know if you can't tell, the man gets her name tattooed across his throat, and because she refuses to wear her wedding ring, he tattoos his fucking name on her wedding ring finger, so no one will be confused about who she belongs to. Okay? All right. Finally, we have Hans, and this one is my favorite in the series. I do enjoy them all. Again, they're all bonkers as hell, okay? But Hans, he's a bit of a mystery. We meet him in one of the previous books, of course. That's how we lead into the next character. And Hans is an assassin. He's a very special kind of assassin. I won't spoil it, but he's an assassin. And he lives in this little neighborhood where he has actually purchased most of the houses in the cul-de-sac so that he has control over the whole area. And then we have our heroine, Cassie, who actually lives in the only house that he doesn't own, basically, in the cul-de-sac. And she keeps wanting to meet her neighbor, but she's only caught glimpses of him. So what she does is she delivers baked goods to his front porch, even though he never answers the door, but and always returns the containers when she's not home. And what we discover when we have Hans' point of view is that he is forcing himself to consume all of the goods that she makes because they're nasty. She can't cook or bake to save her life. But he eats every bite because he doesn't want to waste it. He doesn't want anyone else to get it. He's very possessive over those nasty little baked goods. And he has purposely stayed away from Cassie because he thinks she's gorgeous. In fact, he sneaks into her place to make sure she's keeping herself safe because she forgets the stove on and she forgets to lock the door. And he literally will sneak in and make her house safe and then sneak out again. And he's obsessed with her, but because of the life he lives and how dangerous it is, he doesn't want to connect their lives together. So he stays away. That is until they're kind of forced face to face when something happens. And now he has to keep her. He has to keep her. He has no choice. What a bummer. And now his obsession will fully take root. So the reason why I bring up these series, why they're so addicting, again, they are not the best thing I've ever read by any means, but these are the type of bonkers heroes that the logic just has to go out the window, okay? They are obsessive, they are so into each other, and it's just kind of irrational. So they won't work for most people, but those of you who want an obsessive hero, I think all of her heroines are plus size curvy girls too, and some nasty dirty sex going on, like, they're so great. Again, why I have to listen to them in one sitting, and I just can't help myself. They're just so good. They're so good. All right, then let's switch over to an author who anytime, I'll tell you, anytime I do a list with one-handed reads or spicy reads, this author's going to show up on it from now on, because ever since I discovered her, she is the queen. She is the queen of naughty, dirty books, but make them approachable, okay? So we have All My Love by Daisy Jane. This is an age gap female stalker romance. Yes, our female is the stalker in this one. And she has been obsessed with her next door neighbor, who's a single dad. I think he's like 15 years older than her. She loves his kid, loves everything about him. He's a cowboy, basically. I think he has a ranch, or he has something like that. And her and her two sisters live next door. And she's obsessed with him. And she has been since she was 16 years old. But she knew this man isn't going to be into me when I'm underage, and probably not for a little while after that. So she's been biding her time, making it till she's old enough. Having to watch him be interested in other women just kills her, but she is biding her time. But finally, she's old enough where she's like, it's been enough time. I'm ready to make my move. And so she's ready to make herself known, okay? But she does some pretty naughty, spicy things before that. She will sneak into his home when he's not there yet, smell his laundry, use his toothbrush for things that a toothbrush is not meant to be used for. She will masturbate in places that she probably shouldn't be, and just basically be obsessed with him. It's nuts, okay? In the sweetest way possible, Dolly is nuts. She is also very protective over his son. And when one day, a really powerful scene actually in this is when the current kind of girlfriend of the hero, not really, you'll see, but kind of, she's watching the boy while he's busy that day. She isn't watching him well enough, and this kid almost drowns in the pond, or in the lake, or river, nearby. And Dolly rescues him, and she almost kills the woman for not watching the boy good enough. And that's when Dolly completely stole my heart, because in her eyes, that's the thing, I know she's crazy, but in her eyes, that little boy is going to be her son one day, because she plans to be his stepmom. And I gotta say, that's one of the most rational things about her, and I love it. I do. Because she's like, that little boy, I love him. And this bitch isn't taking care of him. She has the honor to be dating this man who is mine one day, and watching his boy who will be my son one day. And she's gonna let him almost drown. I was so on Dolly's side when that was happening, because I was like, yeah, bitch, you want to date the man, but you won't look after his kid. That's what loving a single dad is all about. So this is wild, but this is super sexy. There is squirting and fisting. I've never seen something so hot, okay? All right, fisting doesn't show up very often. Not even in porn does it show up very often, because it usually makes us uncomfortable. But when it happens in here, it was good. It was good. Yeah. Daisy Jane knows how to do it, y'all. She knows how to do it. All right, then we have one that I just am obsessed with. Now, this one did take me longer than one sitting because I was in the middle of doing things, but every minute that I had free to read, I was reading this book, okay? And it is so sweet. as well as being so hot, and it has some sexy times with a character with disabilities. And I think that that is something that is criminally underrepresented in books, okay? Criminally. And so here we have His Tesoro by Amelia Rossi. So this is the special edition cover that you can actually get from her website. The regular cover, the ebook cover in that is a little more simple, right? But I thought this was just a piece of artwork that I saw, and then I saw the author was selling signed copies, and I had to have one. Okay, look at this. Not only are they just beautiful, but like her wheelchair is shown in a way that like you can just tell how into her he still is. Like, oh my God, guys, okay. Now, I've said before, the third act of this book is badly done. Like, I won't hide that at all, okay? I won't hide that because I don't want you to be disappointed. I'm not here to BS you. But what I will tell you is even with a third act that this book has, it is still worth your time and money, okay? I stand by it, especially if you like to see a mafia don obsessed with his heroine, you would like to see a heroine with disabilities with walking aid be treated like a princess, a treasure, right? That's what this nickname means. To see sex with some, you know, adjustments done without it being made awkward. A hero who did his research for aids to make sex less painful for her and better for her. He gets her a dog to help her, to be her friend and to be her support animal. Like, this man is wonderful, which is why the third act is a bit reductive to what we have. But this book is about our lovely heroine. Oh my gosh, there's art in these too. Like, look, forgot about that being in here. That's so pretty. Is that the only one? I actually haven't like flipped through this yet. There is. Okay, there's also the front is in here, but whew, look at that sexy bath time. But our heroine here, Sophia, she is being, I think she's Bratva. I think has a Bratva dad, yeah, and he's Italian, yes. And her father trades her to Matteo for a business deal. We know how it goes, right? But he did not inform Matteo that his daughter needs like walking aids. She has a degenerative, I think, like issue with her joints and muscles, I believe. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's talked about in here. I didn't write it down. I'm sorry. When I did my disability rec video, I had it written down, but I don't have it right here. But honestly, the heroine has had to find out. She's basically had to use like Dr. Google for herself because her father refused to take her to the doctor. He's ashamed that she has this disability. He just doesn't. He hides her away. She had to like steal a wheelchair basically. And when she is given in marriage to Matteo, she needs to use the wheelchair to get down the aisle, and her father refuses to walk by her, refuses to hand her over. And Matteo, again, he's shocked that she's in a wheelchair. He himself, he's not like upset. He doesn't find her anything wrong with her. He's just kind of puzzled and a bit annoyed that her father wouldn't tell him, because he's like, my home isn't prepared for someone to need mobility aids or be in a wheelchair or anything. And also, he isn't planning to really care for his wife anyway. And again, not that he wouldn't care for her in the wheelchair, like he's not planning to love her. He's planning to give her a comfortable place to be. She is his, you know, peace treaty basically, and he's planning to ignore her. Not planning to love her or have anything at all. But he's kind of like, why would her dad not tell me this? Well, it's because he's ashamed and because he's an absolute jackass. That's why. And we find out more about how awful he's treated her when we get there. But once Sophia is in his home, sweetly being there, she is very scared when she's there, very nervous of, you know, stepping out of line, because Matteo is very grumpy with her because, again, he's not planning to care for her at all. He puts guards in charge of her and really kind of ignores her. Well, in the meantime, she's baking. She's making her guards fall in love with her. She is just trying to be very like diminutive and quiet and out of the way. Well, then one night, she has a really bad flare-up and ends up like falling out of bed, and she's in extreme pain. And Mateo rushes in and sees her this way and is like, what can I do to help you? And so she kind of walks him through how to help relieve some of her pain, getting her in the bath, getting her the medicine she needs. And, all these little things he'd been noticing about her, he's now like, she's so precious and sweet and kind. Like, how come no one's taking care of her at all? And so now he starts to spend some time with her and realizes just how sweet and sexy she is. Because one of the things he like, she's gorgeous, of course, right? It wouldn't matter if she wasn't, but like for him, he's just like this sweet angel. She would have normally been the prize of any mafia boss would be trying to, but instead her father hid her away to be ashamed, and Mateo just doesn't get it. But now he's spending more time with his lovely wife, and he can't help himself but be drawn in. And eventually this will lead to some spicy times, as it were. And like I said, he will do things like he researches what's up with her and discovers that some certain like sex pillows would really help take some pressure off of her joints so they can try different things. And it's so good. It's this type of things where like they would be done by anyone, hopefully, who had a partner with disabilities, but to see it happen in this world, which is very cruel to people with disabilities, and it's very difficult for them in this world, he just feels so special in that regard. And that's why, again, when we have the third act and some of the characters act a bit irrationally, it feels a bit off, because the way you see him treat her and love her, it's just a little weird. So anyway, you can find out more details about what happens there in a spoiler review. But again, I gave that book 4.5 stars and rounded it up to 4 when I read it, or rounded it up to 5. Because I just never read anything like it. It reminded me a little bit of some of Neva's books, Neva Altaj's books, but I'd never read anything like that. And so I wanted to rate it highly. But just so you know, for someone who, there are some specific types of third act conflicts I don't love, that one does have one of them, but 80% of the book is fantastic, so it's worth it. But anyway. All right, the last book that I want to recommend, this is actually another, this is 2 books, but I finally read Snared by Rebecca Quinn. And this is actually a Why Choose story, which you guys know, I have a mixed history with that. It's not always my favorite thing, but this was on my list of 12 recs from 12 friends this year. And as with all of them that I attempt, I give myself okay, I'm going to read 50 to 100 pages. And if I'm not into it, I'm not into it. And then I tried, right? But this one is a dystopian romance, which I love. I also can understand the purpose of a why choose in a dystopian scenario, especially if you are low on women, as it were. I could understand why it might be practical to have a why choose situation, right? So it's not the same as 4 hockey players and 1 woman, where we're like, why can't you go get your own girl, But our heroine has actually been surviving on her own for a little while, and except now she's being chased by some men who want to capture her. There is some sex trafficking that's happening of women in this time. As I said, some of them are a hot commodity these days. And she comes across 3 men to start. We have 3 men who are out collecting some water and doing something, and she begs for help, and they're like, listen, the last time we brought a woman home, it didn't go so well. There was lots of jealousy and lots of whatever. And so they basically tell her, they're like, if you want to come with us, you have to be willing to be with all of us. And all of us, there are 5 of us, because everybody needs equal time and opportunity with the woman, or else we fight, and we don't want any of that. So this is all proposed to this woman very quickly. And she's like, well, would I rather be with this men who yes, they're kind of pressuring me into this, but they'll let me say when to each individual encounter? Or do I want to be with these men who want to turn me into literally a sex slave, where I won't have any agency at all? So she agrees to go with him. And she gets taken back to their like compound, and she meets the other two men, and then she's supposed to start out with it literally being a like different man every night, and then she can have a couple nights off and then do it again. Now that's what the scenario to start is supposed to be. I will say we don't even make it through a full rotation of that before the dynamics within this group start to change, and we then have some things that blow it all up, and then whatever. So I was intrigued from the start because, again, I love dystopian romance, and when a why choose is like a sex deal type of thing, I'm also more intrigued in that than I am in some other scenarios. So I was really pulled into this, and I was like, yeah, let's give it a go. I'm here for it. And I thought it was fascinating. And like I said, there's a lot. I feel like I'm getting to know all of the men very well. I really liked all the conversations and all the discussions. There is also like an couple within this situation. There's also two of the guys who like to do MFMs. They like to do threesomes together. So there are some things with kind of everyone. And then when you get into book 2, which I think is Enthralled, we get to see even more of that dynamic. There's one of the guys who doesn't want to share with anyone, and then you have some of that push and pull. And then Entwined, which was supposed to come out this month, the author had to push it, which I understand, but she said we'll still get it before Halloween. So I recommend you could still read books 1 and 2, and you'll be ready to go for the third one. But particularly book 2 was very spicy, and I couldn't put either of these books down. I read book 1, which again was the one that was suggested to me by a viewer, and I immediately started book 2. So I read both of them within like 24 hours, and whew, I was just sucked into it for sure. So there you go. Those are some recommendations for books that I could not put down, but I think you might want to pick up your BOB to read them. And again, thank you so much to Bessa Boutique for sponsoring this video. Make sure you check out the pinned comment down below to enter the giveaway and see if you can win yourself some goodies. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye.